I'm stuck in a ditch trying to get out of it right now. I did 125,000 last year painting pretty much by myself. Went back and forth. I built myself up, got busy, hired a bunch of people, failed miserably, got busy, hired a bunch of people, failed miserably. Couldn't ever get past that hill. And I just knew that I couldn't physically do any more. Let go of my pride and ego. And I was like, I need I need a personal trainer here. I need Eric to help.
On the Painting Business Pro Show today, I've got Paul Small joining me for basically a coaching call with him. This episode is really made for anybody who is a painting contractor, but you're still doing a lot of the painting and you feel like really stuck in doing the painting and not sure how to transition into really building the business. Paul's a father to 6 kids. He's been in business for 3 years. He's still stuck on the tools and he's just about to start to break out of that and start really building his business as a business. And we talk through some of his fears, challenges, and most importantly, what his most important next steps are for making that happen. So hope you enjoy the episode and I hope you get a ton out of it. Let's go. First of all, Paul, thanks for coming on to do this. And start by giving me the backstory.
So my backstory is probably unique and similar in a lot of ways. I was a restaurant manager for a very long time and then sort of lost that battle or position during the pandemic while I was off of work or out of work, I should say. Enjoyed the vacation. It was sort of a paid vacation a lot of us had. Which was nice in a lot of ways, but obviously, not nice in some others. Our goal was to try to make the most of that time, my wife and I and our family. And it was great to spend time with everybody. But we really not only wanted to sort of get some perspective on life and what direction we wanted to go in, when all of that we knew would come to some sort of end. So painting was always a side skill of mine. So it's sort of my side hustle, if you will. I said, well, let's start, painting, do some of this. I can do that on my own right now. And, that'll sort of help us bank some of the other money and help us get ahead. And it went pretty well. And then we had some more conversations. Anybody who works in the restaurant industry knows how challenging it is anyway. As a manager, I was pretty much lived there.
So the COVID happened, restaurant, get all that. Painting was a side gig. So, took a little bit of the COVID vacation.
Yep.
And then started doing painting as a side gig sometime in 2021, 2022, something like that. So when did you register the business, which I commented before we started, love the hat, love the name, paulthepainter.com. When did you actually register the business and decide it was going to be a real thing?
That was November of 2021. Here, we were pretty shut down, for a while. And then we kind of opened up and then shut down and went back and forth a bunch of times. I guess you could say mentally, I already had one foot out the door with the restaurant industry.
Just so we can get to all the questions and stuff. But what's the really 30-second version of 2021, 22, 23? How are we here now? So state of the business now, what happened the last couple of years? So you started it.
So fast forward, I got in, I became official of business in 2021, Paul the Painter LLC. Started painting, went back and forth. I built myself up, got busy, hired a bunch of people, failed miserably, got busy, hired a bunch of people, failed miserably. Couldn't ever get past that hill. Over that period of probably 2 years, a lot of your content was either on my radar or I was watching some of it. Sure. And it just sort of clicked at some point that, I'm like, hey, this guy's either speaking about my past or predicting my future at all times, or he's, commenting on my present. So I think there's something to this. I tried to implement a lot of your strategies just through your free content. And, finally just kind of caved and said, you know what, I really want to scale this thing. And
I wore you down.
Yeah, you wore me down. I had to let go of my pride and ego. And I was like, I need a personal trainer here. I need Eric to help.
Yeah, good. All right. We're gonna make some stuff happen. So let's dig into, the intention of this call is literally just like a coaching call for Paul, essentially. So I know a lot of the questions he's gonna have are going to be questions other people have. I'm not going to repeat things that are in the program, but I might point you to some of those things if appropriate. So let's let it rip, man. What do we want to get out of the call? I'll let you lead.
Yeah, sure. So first question I have for you is, how should my business be structured right now? And I will let you know, I'll preface that with I am the owner and I have one W-2 hourly worker, and I haven't really hired subs yet. I haven't gone down that road because I haven't done the how to hire subs training. I'm still finding it challenging because I still have to be on production site a lot, so I'm finding it challenging to implement all of the training so far. So I'm kind of looking at how should my business be structured right now based on like how should I be allocating that time and money?
Got it. Okay. So you're not talking about like legal structure. You're talking about your like just what you're doing, basically.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
correct. Like, so like payroll wise, production wise, and then sales and marketing.
Understood. Okay, so the first way to think about this is, where we want to place ourselves in our business is the most valuable place that we can place ourselves. So there's tiers. So the least valuable thing you can do in your business is basically it's painting. It's painting, and then we move up, and you got marketing, sales, and project management. But within those, project management is where people are most inefficient. And so the first thing that sets off a little alarm for me is when you said you're on site a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I would do is I would say stop being on site at all. You have one.
Okay.
You have one person. Have them do it, and if they can't, then just let them go and just hire a sub. So you make money when jobs get produced. That's when you make money, but you can't have jobs to produce if you're not doing marketing and sales. So the most valuable place for you to be putting your time right now is in marketing and sales. That's where essentially like 70% of your time should be going. Once you're doing a lot of that, you'll start to have a lot of work. And the more work you get, it'll eventually balance out where half of your time is sales and marketing, half is production. So the very first thing I would do is I would want to claw back the time that I'm putting in production so I can put more in marketing and sales, because that's what's going to drive more revenue, which ultimately drives more profit.
Okay.
And right now, if you're like, man, I'm too busy to even like study and learn and implement, I'm like, okay, well, what's your revenue per week right now?
On average, our revenue per week would probably be $1,000 to $2,000.
Okay. So you just don't even need to go on site. You just have your guy do the jobs. And if he's not capable of doing the jobs, so if your revenue is 1,000 to 2,000 a week, it means you're selling 1,000 to 2,000 a week right now.
Right. Maybe more. I have I could look in our business plan that I have. So I think our average job sale is about $3,000 right now.
Okay. And you book a job every one job every week to 2
about
weeks?
One job a week. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
let's just say it's $3K a week. Let's say it's $3K a week.
Okay.
Great. So all we want to do with the program you're at, and anyone who's at this stage, if you're under I think the first goal of the business is to get to like $8,000 to $10,000 a week while working about 35 hours a week
of revenue deposits.
Yes, $8,000 to $10,000 a week in total revenue. So that's sold and produced. $8,000 a week. Why $8,000 a week? Because at $8,000 a week, if you have the proper profit margin of 50% gross profit, so that's 50% after labor and materials, that leaves you $4,000 a week. And then you've got, let's say, $1,000 a week on marketing because you're overspending on it. That leaves you $3,000 a week, which is somewhere in the range of $100,000 to $150,000 a year in profit. You need to get there because the first goal of the business is stability. Because if we're only at $3,000 a week and we're only making like $1,500 a week, I kind of like I'm more driven by like I need to make money than the proper way to build a business. So the first goal is stability, and $8,000 a week is stability. And so if you're at if you're doing 3,000 a week, all you got to do is, however you're getting that 3,000 a week, do double it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're at 6 and you're pretty close, but to double it, you would need to work less on site to put more time in marketing and sales. So that's like your first shift. Is this person who's working for you capable of doing a job without you being there all day?
Most jobs, yes. I would say probably most jobs, sure. There are always a couple things come up, that obviously, that they're not 100% experienced in. But most just general room paints, sure.
So what I would do is, if I was going to start the business, like let's just pretend we're on day 1 right now, I would just start the business straight away with book a job, get a good subcontractor. And you could just do that right now. Just say like, if you broke both your arms and you couldn't paint, what would you do? Do that. Because the sooner you do that, the sooner you have, that would free up like the majority of your schedule. Like all the time spent painting, if instead you put all that time into marketing and sales, you would very quickly create a new problem. That's the process of building a business, is you solve the next problem as fast as possible. And every problem you solve creates a new problem. And then you solve that one as fast as possible, which creates a new problem. So the problem we want to solve first is we want to solve marketing as fast as possible, where I have so many estimates that I've got a new problem called I got to convert these. So now I solve selling them. And once I'm selling them, I've got a new problem called I've got a lot of jobs that I need to produce. Now we want to maintain the marketing sales, you've solved that. So don't stop doing that in the new production. You maintain that and then solve the next problem, which is I need to produce these jobs. And now we're like really quickly, I'm talking like in the next 6 weeks, you could get to the $8,000 a week sold, and then production will lag like 4 or 5 weeks after that because you got to get the jobs ready. And now you're at the spot where you're doing, let's say, 6 estimates a week, closing 2 jobs for $8,000. You've got one sub that's got 3 guys that's producing those jobs every week. And you're going to probably be working at that stage like 30, 35 hours a week. But you've got stability now, and you've got some time. You've got stability with income, and you've got some stability with time and schedule. So now you can work on building the business. And that in our program, that's when we move you into the mastery program, because that's where we like get really, everything is in there on like, how do you master that? Because what we'd want to get you to is, all right, now you're doing 8,000 a week in revenue, making a few grand. We want to be able to get you up to like 15K a week at the same hours. How do we do that? We increase your sales job size, we increase your sales ratio, and we increase your production efficiency. So you should be able to get to about a $500,000 to $600,000 per year business that's netting. Your take home comp is 150, 160K. And then you have a new problem called I don't have more time. Time is the next problem. So then we got to solve a couple other problems in the foundation of the business before we can hire people. So we'll solve those. And then we hire people. And so then you hire a production manager, solves that takes out half your schedule. All right, we got a new problem. I got someone full-time, I need to get full-time. The next problem is more marketing so that you can do more estimates with that more time. So then you're doing more estimates, selling more jobs so the business grows again. Now you got a new problem. It's my time again. Now I got to hire a sales rep to take these estimates off my plate. All right, now we've got a sales rep doing 13, 15 estimates a week, selling 20, 25, 30 grand a week, production manager producing what they sell. And now you're like in a pretty sweet spot. You probably got $1 million plus business making 200 plus a year, and you're not doing the estimates or managing the projects anymore. So then we move into what I call like kind of the whack-a-mole phase, where your next 3 hires is an office manager, a sales rep, and a production manager. And which one you do next depends on the effectiveness of your current team. So if you've got a sales guy that could sell a lot more than your production manager can handle, then the next hire is a production manager. If you've got a production manager that can handle a lot more jobs than the sales guy can currently produce, you hire sales next. And somewhere in there, we get an office manager to set the appointments and take a lot of admin off the admin and stuff like that. So that's like, in a nutshell, like what I just mapped out is essentially the next 3 years of your business that takes you from where you are right now to a 5-person team that can do between $2 and $3 million a year. And the way we do it is we solve the next problem as rapidly as possible. And so for you right now, the really simple next step is don't pick up a brush anymore. Just draw a line in the sand and take all that time. And if you put all that time into marketing, following like the stuff I'm teaching you in the course, you'll get to that 6-8 estimates a week really quick. And you're already closing deals. I don't imagine you have like a lot of sales trouble. You're a really personable guy and follow our process, and then we can clean that up. And then all of a sudden you're there. And then it's like, all right, now I just got to make sure I get a couple good subcontractors. And it's about 2 guys to do 5K a week. And so you only need like 3 or 4 painters to do 8 to 10K a week. That's like 1 sub, maybe 2. So you might go through a bad sub or 2 to find a good one. And that's okay, because you'll go through bad employees too. Like hiring people is always going to be a challenge, no matter which people, but subcontracting will solve a lot of the other problems that are inherent to employees.
Yeah, it makes sense. I definitely could see the path, and how it's laid out. I can see it, the future and just follow that path. I think I'm just stuck. It's kind of right. Like, I'm stuck in a ditch trying to get out of it right now. But seeing the importance of marketing, this has really made me realize how important marketing is. I did 125,000 last year painting pretty much by myself.
Right.
And I just knew that I couldn't physically do any more. Like I'm
Exactly.
43, I'm not going to move faster every year. It's not going to be a matter of like, let's just get more jobs, or something. Where I broke down and I knew that I
Yep.
needed to do something different here. So I did sort of experiment a little early, hired a couple of subcontractors and sort of got my butt kicked because they weren't very good. So I stopped that and I looked at your program. I thought, well, I jumped ahead there. Let me wait until I get all the way down to that subcontractor training. Let me hire them right. Let's vet them the correct way. Let's not just grab a couple guys on Facebook that said they can work, So I learned a couple quick bad lessons there. But
Yep.
the one guy I have is pretty good, and he wants to get better. He wants to work more. So I'm lucky to have him.
One other thing I just want to mention before the next question is this guy, you said he can do most jobs, but there's some he can't do yet. So when you sell a job he can't do, you'll know it when you see the job. So when when you're scheduling them and saying when you want to get this done, schedule those jobs for like 6 weeks out. Schedule the jobs he can do for next week or the next week. So you're only loading him up with the jobs he can do. And then if it's a really complex job, just pass on it for now. If you're putting enough energy into marketing, you can say no because you're not feeling desperate for every job. So if you put enough energy into marketing, you'll have enough opportunities that if it's like this, 3-story Victorian house and crazy intricate stuff, or you're like trying to strip, stain off of wood and turn it to paint, or you're doing like crazy shit, don't do that. We want to focus on repaints, like pretty simple repaints. So just say no to everything else for now because you don't need to win them all. You just need 2 jobs a week with an average job size of $4 or $5 grand and you're there. The best way to do that is you play the numbers game and be willing to pass on the wrong ones. And then the right ones that he can do, let him do. And then you'll start to sell. If you're putting all your energy into marketing and sales, you're going to very quickly start having more work than he can do. And you'll need to solve the next problem called, all right, now let's focus on recruiting these subs. Just like anyone we ever hire. I'll give you a quick example. I'm hiring an executive assistant right now. Way overdue. I want to find someone amazing. And people say all the time, like, there's no one good out there. And they're right and they're wrong. I found someone amazing. I have 3 actually really amazing people. It's going to be a really hard decision. I'm interviewing them in the next 2 days. And I don't know who I'm going to go with because they're all going to be awesome. But I got 788 applicants. There's amazing people, but you still got to be selective. It's hard to find the amazing people. And you've got to be selective. And that's true with hiring an employee painter, hiring a subcontractor, hiring a sales rep, hiring a production manager, hiring an executive assistant, hiring a sales director, hiring a CEO. It doesn't matter who you're hiring. You've got to be selective and find the right people. So that's part of like how you find the right subs is the numbers game to some degree. And then when you find someone that you think is good, then there's like onboarding. You got to make sure like you're side by side with them when they start, because that's how you can protect yourself from the downside. We're not like, all right, you're hired and you send them out and cross your fingers. You're there every day, checking in the morning, checking in at the end of the day, making sure the first job goes well, making sure the next job goes well, just to give you that context for that hire to make you to alleviate some of the fear about it. You can eliminate the risk with more of your own effort and management.
Yeah, definitely learned that lesson the hard way a couple times here. So it's but I definitely I'm looking forward to the subcontractor hiring section of the training. So that I can really we can create a good process there with that. So I understand what you're saying, and it makes a lot of sense because there've been a lot of times where we've had those circumstances where there's like we get 2-room job that my guy can do no problem, and then there's like a staircase, or something. So it's like just little things come up where you're on a job like that and you don't know what to do. So you're like, all right, I guess I'm going to do the staircase, and you still end up working on it one way or another.
Yeah. Sometime around the release of this show, the guy I interviewed this morning, Joe, he does $5 million a year. In 2019, he was doing $2 million, and he moved to Colombia, the country.
Like the country?
Yeah. He built his company from 2 million to 5 million while living in another country. So what he was no longer able to do is go out there to solve problems himself. And it forced him to learn how to solve his problems through his team. So again, I'm like, you don't have arms. You can't
Mm-hmm.
paint. Or you broke your leg, you can't get on a ladder. Like you can't. It would force you to solve it in another way. So you have to just put that constraint on yourself. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not allowed to anymore. And as soon as you're not allowed to, your schedule is wide open.
Right.
And so what are you going to do with your time? Market and sell, because that's what's going to make you far more money than painting will.
And I have experienced that now a little bit where, because we've had a bunch of jobs that he can do, and it's like all of a sudden I have nothing to do, and then I don't know what to do with myself. So, but I'm on the training now. For the first time, I'm out doing door hangers and putting lawn signs out, and I'm doing all of this stuff. So that pretty much answered a lot of that question. I think you're right. And just, I like the analogy of broken arms. Just force yourself to solve the problem. So,
Yeah.
hey, I'm 43. You never know what could happen at my age, man. So,
Well, and dude, it's and for anybody out there, it's like you're creating opportunities for other people too by not doing the painting. You're promoting yourself, which creates a void to give other people opportunities. Then you promote yourself again, which creates a void to give other people opportunities. And the truth is, like, if you want to just like own a job as a painter, you can do that. But if you want to build a business, you can't do that. The faster you promote yourself, the faster your business grows and the more opportunities you're creating for other people.
that's how I knew I was definitely going to go with you and your model, is because every other contractor you talk to tells you to do the opposite. Because they're like, they tell you, like, don't teach your guys everything, because as soon as you teach them everything, they're going to leave you and go start something else. And, like, you still have to be the one that does everything. And I'm like, yeah, but you're here and he's over there with his multi-million-dollar painting business. I'm like, I'm going to listen to Eric. He might know something more than I'm like, we're both here standing here. So, all right. So this may not be appropriate for this. This might have to be tabled. I don't really know, but this does sort of make the struggle of what we're talking about in my situation right now. It's kind of what makes it difficult a little bit. So it's, how should my budget be allocated right now? And that's for my business. So, for instance, you had mentioned that, so we're going to take in, I'll give you our numbers this month, just as of right now. I have $8,500 booked for production. That's on the books right now. So still, obviously, it's early in the month. We're going to sell more and deposits will come in and stuff like that. But right now we have scheduled $8,500 worth of work. So if I take half of that and it goes to, let's just say it goes to production, right? Half goes to production. The other remaining 50%, you want me to take 20% as a profit, as I understand it. And I think I had it allocated where it was like 15% went to like sales and marketing for like maybe commission or something like that. And then the last 5 was for overhead. But if I break all that down based on that allocation, that percentage allocation, then I can't pay my bills.
Yeah, you're conflating kind of like my big picture budget with like your actual one right now. So right now, if you did nothing else this month, like you just stopped and you just had your guy paint, you would have, and you didn't do any marketing, you would have no marketing costs. Your overhead should be almost nothing. If all you did was you just produced that 8,500 and you spent half of it on labor and materials, you would have a gross profit of 4,250. And then you'll pay a few $100 in overhead for insurance or whatever.
So for overhead, quick question, sidebar. Are you considering my own personal expenses as overhead?
No, business. No, because they're not. We're just talking about the business.
A business. Okay.
So the business, if all you did this month is produce that 8,500, pay your guy 4,200, you make $4,000 this month. You take that $4,000 as income and then you pay your bills. So the only additional expense you should have at this stage of business, you should have labor, materials, and marketing. And then your overhead is super minimal. Just be really, really cheap about that. Don't add anything else. It's insurance, like the bare minimum. If you're like, hey, should I spend money on this right now, Eric? I'll tell you what you should and shouldn't spend money on. But you should. When I started, it was literally marketing. I spent money on insurance and labor materials. That was it. And so if you're at 8,500 now, the only other expenses this month, it is going to be marketing. So your track right now, you don't spend anything else, you're going to make $4,000. So let's set that aside and then say, okay, so this month, if you go spend $1,000 on marketing to generate 8 estimates, how many will you sell?
We'll sell, our goal would be to sell 5 to 6 of those 8 estimates.
All right. Let's say you sell 4 for $12,000.
4. Okay.
Okay. So then we have $12,000 and you're going to pay out $6,000 on that. So you're going to make another $6,000 minus the $1,000 on marketing, and you make another $5,000 and you make a $9,000 profit month. And that's like pretty low side, because the truth is, like, 8 estimates would mean you're only doing 2 a week. And your $1,000 on marketing, you probably don't even need to spend that much either. Or you could spend $2,000 and get 12 estimates, and you're still way up. So does that track?
It does. And I think you can see the problem that I have of, like, because I haven't been doing the, your marketing.
Yeah.
I'm doing it now, but let's just say, before I came to you 3 weeks ago, I'm not doing all that stuff. Right. So I'm not getting the kind of leads. I'm not getting so now I only have that 4,000 or 5,000. That doesn't even pay my bills. You know what I mean? Right. There is no money for marketing. There is no money for lawn signs.
And that's why then you go and I paint, because I need to paint, because I'm only going to make $4,000 this month, and I don't know if there's any other leads, and I need to make sure that I make $7,000 this month. The only way to make that is I got to go and paint, so I don't pay the labor out. And that's the trap that everyone's in. If you cut that, there is like this little uncomfortable zone where you're like, there is a little bit of that. So there is going to be like some trust, but instead of you having that be like crippling fear, have that be the motivation to take massive action on marketing. Because your time, if I just break it down logically, like, you make far more money per hour doing marketing and sales and then someone else is doing the painting. You make way more money per hour on that, because you already know that you're going to close the deals if you're in front of the people. So the only thing is, like, I got to get in front of people. And here's the thing too, is what you could do to help alleviate that fear is you could just, instead of painting 5 days a week, paint 3 days a week, and then take 2 of those days to go hardcore on marketing and sales. And that would step you in the right direction. You would make more money, because you could still get to that number I just told you of 8 estimates. You could add 2 estimates a week, and there's 8 estimates on the month, more than you used to have, because you're doing new marketing. Sell 4 jobs, $12,000, then that all gets subcontracted out. All right. So if you don't paint for 2 days, for 8 hours each of those days, then you'll have to pay him to do that painting.
Right.
So you'll have to pay him 16 hours times $22 an hour. All right. So 16 hours times 22 an hour, you'd pay him $350 a week times 4 weeks, let's say. So you're going to pay him $1,400 more. That's your net loss by not doing that painting. Another way we could say that is you're paying yourself $22 an hour when you're painting, and you're never going to get to your goals making $22 an hour.
Right.
You make more than 22 an hour because you're the owner. So you also make the profit and the hourly. But if you just paid someone else to do the hourly, you still make the profit part, but not the $1,408. So then my question to you is, how much revenue do you need to do to cover $1,400 to make that an even swap? Now I'll give you the answer. So don't think this is how to think about it is, all right, well, I'd like to make $2,000 extra to offset the $1,400. Okay. So how do I make $2,000 more this month on new work? I would need to market and sell $4,000 and then subcontract that out for $2,000. And you would be up $600. So my question to you is, if you committed your 16 hours a week for 4 weeks to marketing and sales, could you generate 4 more estimates and 1 booked job for $4,000?
Absolutely. And I've already done that. That's why I'm totally bought in. I think I'm in the uncomfortable zone that you're talking about, and I think a lot of guys get into that. I've got 6 kids, so there's a lot of people, looking at me, there's a lot of pressure at all times, and it's very expensive to live here. But I know it is everywhere. But it's so if we have a few weeks or a month where income is bad, life gets very scary.
Yeah. So let me give you like another approach too. So,
Hmm.
because the principle here is where do I make more money? Painting or doing marketing and sales and having someone else do the painting? Where do I make more money?
Marketing and sales, other
Marketing,
people
sales, someone
paying.
else does the
Yeah.
painting. I make more money doing that. So you have three options. One is you could just like, and this is more circumstantial, depending on like, okay, you've got 6 kids, you have like a lot of accountabilities and a lot of people relying on you. There may be someone listening to this who's like 22 years old and has no one counting on them. So you could
Right.
do the extreme where you say, hey, I'm going to just completely quit painting and just go all in on this because I don't really have that much to risk. Because I could always like book one job and paint it all day Saturday and Sunday and make ends meet.
Hmm.
The other thing is you could do that in between where you say, look, Thursdays and Fridays are marketing and sales, and I will not paint those days, period. So you're just carving out some of your painting time to go to marketing and sales. And that alone will increase your overall income, and it will give you the confidence to maybe move to 3 days a week marketing and sales and then 4 days a week marketing and sales. So you could step your way there. The third option could be, I'm uncomfortable quitting painting because I do need that money. I'm like, great. Then add time every week. Say, look, family, like I got to do some work for the business for the next month. Saturdays, I'm going and I'm doing a 10-hour day on a Saturday for marketing and sales every Saturday this month. And I think if you did that, if you spent 4 hours on marketing and then 6 hours doing 3 estimates, and you went out and did 12 estimates this week, in addition to what you're already doing, 12 more estimates, you book 4 more jobs for 12 grand. The deposits alone are $3,000. You can set that in a little safe account. And then next month you've got 12 grand more to produce that you still do your same painting you're always doing, but that 12 grand someone else does, you're up 3 grand. Another 3 grand, 3 grand this month, 3 grand next month. And that's how you could start to transition that. So you got to find your comfort level, but fundamentally you got to put more time into marketing and sales and not doing the painting. And so it could be extra hours you do for a short period of time to get out of the cycle. It could be, I'm going to just cancel 1 or 2 days a week and dedicate that fully. Or, someone could listen to this and be like, I'm just drawing a line in the sand. I'm not paying anymore. I'm going all into marketing sales. And what will happen, Paul, is as you do that, the more extreme, the faster you'll go. But you've got to balance being extreme with like taking care of your family. And so that's a personal choice. But if you just did more marketing and sales to generate new business on top of what you're already doing, it would increase your income and it would give you more confidence next month to do a little more of that, a little more of that. And what we're working our way to, 25 of your hours a week are marketing and sales.
Hmm.
Let's say it's 5 or 10 hours a week on marketing and then 8 estimates a week for 8 by 2 hours per estimate, 16 hours on that, 10 hours on sales. All of a sudden you're doing 8 estimates a week. You're going to close 10 grand a week. And then if you're not doing the painting and you're subcontracting that out, you're making literally like $4,000 a week. You're making more, but now you're not painting, you're not as tired, and now you start to get this momentum. And this is honestly, man, like this is like speaks to my heart because I'm a father of 3. The reason I got into entrepreneurship was I grew up with a dad who was an entrepreneur and he was around all the time. And I'm clear, like I had everything, I went to a good school. My parents were around. Like we lived in a nice house. He paid for college. Like I had everything because of my dad. And I knew I wanted to be a father and I wanted to be able to give my kids everything. And that's why I got into business. And that's a lot about, like, I have goosebumps right now because I'm like, dude, you tell me you got 6 kids. I'm like, fuck, man, the opportunity for you to build this business the way we talked about at the beginning, where truly like 2 years from now, it can be a business that you have other people doing it where you're making all the money you need above and beyond what you need. And you've got like time to spend with those kids. And the price of it is you've got to solve the next problem.
Yeah, I agree, and that's the number one. Really, like your why, I guess you would, as to why we chose to start our own business was because at the time when we started this, my now 3-year-old was born, basically. So he was born in 2021. Yeah, so it was like, and the kids all there just was no job I could work where I was going to make enough income or be home enough to help. My wife and I, we don't have a lot of family help around we just where we live. So it's just kind of her and I a lot. So she needs me around a lot. And this is just doing this. This allows me to sort of be, there and helpful for her with, the young kids. And then also one's got football. So I'm always at football with this one. I'm doing something with that one. This one's starting basketball. That one, that one's in the band. We're doing so that to me was it was like a no question. I'm like you, where I was like, no matter what I do, I'm going to do something where I can be here for these kids, and still be around. Because same thing I had my dad was always around, we did a lot growing up and stuff. So I know, it just wasn't, it's an important thing for me. Their ages are from like 17 down to 8 weeks. So like they all have completely different needs, in different phases of their life. So,
for you, Paul, based on everything you just said, it's probably not the add 10 hours a week to your schedule, because you're like, where, man? Like, I don't have a lot of help and I can't hire nannies, and like that's a lot to put on your wife. The answer to this for you is I need to I'm gonna duck out of the paint. I'm gonna duck out of painting 2 hours early every day, or I'm gonna take a 2-hour lunch where I'm gonna go and just do marketing activities. And when you start doing the marketing activities, you're going to get calls. And when you get those calls, you're going to say, hey, I got to leave the job site for 2 hours to go do this bid. And all of a sudden you start generating an extra, few estimates a week. Maybe you're still painting every day, but you're leaving 2 hours is marketing. That only costs you, $44 a day in what you'd have to pay your guy. So it's not a huge cost to duck those 2 hours out. And then when you get an estimate, that's even more valuable. So you're going to duck out to go do that bid, because if I can close that another job a week, like that starts to create some cushion, where next month you're like, okay, I can do 4 hours a day now.
That's where I signed up with you, because I looked at the $5,000 profit per month, and I thought to myself, dude, $5,000 of profit it's a life-changing, that creates so much stability in our monthly budget. That takes care of all of our angst, and it would allow me to just run this business and do what we need to do. So, and then when we got the business plan and we tweaked it, I think I had to add like 2 leads a week or just something dumb. I didn't even have to raise prices. I didn't have to do it was just something, it was like so easy, and I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, it's not even that much extra. I'm like right there, and I'm like, and I think that's what it is I think a lot of guys, I feel like a lot of friends that are in the trades are like me too, where they don't have personal financial stability, even though they're doing, some of them have like a $10,000 payroll every month, and they still don't have any money in their pocket, and they're still sweating out paying their own, mortgage and electric bill. And you're like, dude, this is crazy. We're all working way too much here to not at least have financial stability.
And what you're pointing at, Paul, is like I know I've done this long enough that I know there's tons of people in that spot where I'm like, the only thing you need first is stability. That's the intention of the Accelerator program. And then I created that Paul's talking about a spreadsheet we have in our program that shows you like, these are the changes you need to make that result in an additional $5,000 a month. And I know, the way that we work is you figure out how to make things work. Like you're making things work at whatever income you're at. So an extra $5,000 is like, oh my God, like it's relief, it's stability. Yeah. And then we're like, how do you do it in less time? Well, we make production more efficient. And so that's how you can work less and make more. And then we get to, okay, now we've got stability. Then the mastery program, it's like, all right, now let's build this business the right way so you don't turn into these other guys you're saying that have these massive payrolls. Because a lot of people do. They grow the business. They get to a $1.3 million business, but they're making the same they were making at $500K, but with more stress, more responsibility, and even busier. So that's what mastery is how do we now build this the right way there? But you see it. And that's the other thing I was going to mention too, is you can go back to your business plan to just look at the numbers. Like the numbers are just there. And so I got to trust the numbers. And again, you can make it in small tweaks for your comfort level, but fundamentally you've got to swap out some painting time for marketing time.
Yeah. And we've done a little bit of that. I've told my wife, like I've taken a couple of my teenagers, and I'm like, all right, that's it. You got a job now. You're working with me on the weekend. You're doing signs, you're doing flyers, so.
The fastest thing, Paul, would be knock some doors with them. It would be instant, man. If you guys just, instead of dropping the flyer, you knock the door and off the estimate, if you and your two boys went out there for 3 hours on a Saturday, I bet you'd get 10 leads and you could set up 5 estimates the next week. And you might go out there and close 3 jobs for 10 grand and be like, holy shit. All right, boys, we're doing it again. Pay them money. They're going to be pumped. You're going to be pumped. Like Paul, there will be like this fucking energy behind you when you start to just see the results. So you've got to just start to make that shift. And, you know, the shift is scary. Like a lot of these PvP shows are like people had a belief and then they took the leap of faith and then the results were there. And it's like so motivating because it breaks your beliefs a little bit because you've been in this cycle for 3 years and it won't take much to break that. So if you've already got you and your boys going out dropping lawn signs and dropping flyers, if you guys just say, hey, we're going to just try this door-to-door thing for 2 weeks, you know, let's just give that a shot for 2 weeks. That might be all it takes to like literally unlock this whole future. And it'll be motivating, you know, because you can just, man, you see the progress and you see the opportunity and it turns it from stress to make bills to fun and exciting because I'm building a future that like is going to change me and my family's life.
That's definitely the goal. So that's pretty good. Another good segue into the next question for me, which is kind of about that. So I'm in Connecticut, you know, I'm Southern New England. The weather is the worst probably all the time. I swear, I mean, I couldn't even get a lawn sign in the ground the other day because it's so frozen. I mean, the wind, I can't put flyers on because they're blowing around in the wind. I mean, it's just like we lose so many weather days and all that right now in the wintertime. You know, I'm kind of jealous of these guys in Texas and Arizona. Right. It's like this exterior season is year round. And, you know, so based on that, like, what's your strategy? Like, how do I implement these marketing strategies and like the door to door, like the script and things like that for like just interior painting during the winter months? Because we can't paint anything here.
Don't overthink that part. Booking exteriors is awesome. Do you ever sell a job and have people cancel and ask for their deposit back?
I think it's happened twice.
You can kind of look at those deposits as income. If you generate the lead knocking on a door, there was no marketing expense. If you sell the job, if we're going to produce the job for 50% and you take a 25% deposit, that's half of your income on the job. And then when you produce it, you collect 75 and pay out 50, you make the other half. So you can look at the deposits as income and you're just loading up for when the weather gets nice. If you get an interior, great. You can produce it sooner, make that money sooner. I'm in Colorado. It's not as bad as yours, but we're in the same boat right now. We are selling loads of exteriors and we've got a big company. So we have a lot more overhead. So we're operating at a loss right now. We're losing money every month. And we're setting up all these jobs for March, April. And as soon as the weather breaks, we produce them. And then production like booms. But we're still creating a lot of cash flow from deposits. And so don't have that be the constraints. Like take what you can get and sell the jobs.
Yeah. I mean, and I only do 80 to 90% interior, you know, painting. So up until now. So we're not really too well versed and haven't really dove into the exterior game even just yet.
That's even easier. Exterior is easier than interior.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that. Like kind of putting this up for that.
No, I mean even now, like people are they're booking their exteriors now. Like we're selling a lot more exterior jobs right now than interiors. Okay. Getting the lead is easier, selling it is easier, producing it is easier. And I've coached obviously thousands of people. Like the more common issue people have is they struggle. They're like, man, I'm crushing it with exterior, but I can't get interior sales up. And exterior is easier. So I would just say like, set that whole belief aside. And it's just, I gotta just go do marketing. And if it's exterior, I'm gonna sell an exterior. If it's interior, I'm gonna sell an interior. If it's exterior, I can't paint it yet. If it's interior, I'll do it next week. And then if your W-2 guy has no work today, be like, cool, you're gonna go drop flyers and knock on doors with me then.
Yeah, that's something we've talked about doing as well. I figured I might as well get him some hours doing that. So that's just great. I really appreciate it. I mean, the other question I had was more about like pricing, you know, and stuff, but I just haven't gotten to that training yet, you know, in the on the website.
I'll give you the quick answer on pricing. It sounds like I wouldn't even worry about that one right now. Because you're mentioning like if you book a job right now for $3,000, can you pay your guy $1,500 for labor and materials to get it done?
Sure.
Okay. Like just price wise, like however you're currently pricing, forget my training and stuff, just the way you're currently pricing, you can get a job produced at 50%?
Yeah, I mean, if I have a $3,000 job now and he does it, we probably wouldn't need to spend that much money to get the job done.
Great. Like you wouldn't need to spend $3,000 or you wouldn't need to spend $1,500?
1,500. Like, like
Then your price is
I've
fine.
only, yeah.
Then
So
your
it's on
price
my
is
price
fine.
point is okay. It seems like I always,
You
my
just need
sales
more.
process, yeah, I just need more. It just came
That's
down to
all you need.
leads. Yeah. My closing rate is like 40 something percent. Usually it's over 50. I mean, we don't have a problem getting in front of people and closing. We just need to get in front of more people.
It's
I just,
100% marketing. That's the only
yeah,
thing.
absolutely.
You
I
just
just,
need more time dedicated to marketing.
this has been a whole like, just sort of, shift in thinking, kind of like a paradigm shift for me coming into your system because, understanding like that it's not the production that's the most important thing. It's the marketing that's the most important thing that drives everything.
For right now, yes.
And also, as far as what drives revenue, I was thinking for so long it was production, finishing jobs, right? So you can get paid because that's how it brings money in. But now it's not. It's the marketing to get the estimates so that you could sell them so we can get the deposits and then, we get the job done. I think a lot of guys probably thought like I did, where it's like, well, I need to get this done so we can get paid, so we need to focus on production, and
Right.
stuff. And it's not that at all. It's that we need to focus on marketing,
Yep.
and get somebody else. This will get done. We'll get this done. Don't worry about it. Like we'll find somebody to get that done.
If I just handed you $30,000 in work right now, you would get it done and you would get paid on it. So the bottleneck is not production. The bottleneck is I just don't have enough volume in the first place. It's all marketing. And if your pricing was really messed up, I'd tell you to get that cleaned up, but it doesn't sound like it is. It doesn't even sound like it's sales. It sounds like it's literally marketing, and you got a couple boys, make a little family time. They can make some money. I mean, those numbers we laid out, like the add 5K a month, like you're weeks from that. I mean, I just had 4 people this week in your program who have hit that target within their first 8 weeks that are like, all right, I'm there. Like, I'm ready for what's next. You know what to do. It's just like carve out the time, do it. It'll work.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I get it. It's just a matter of implementing it.
Yeah.
But I could see it. Our numbers wise, we're looking at them and I'm like, we're like right there, we're getting there, it's going to happen. It's just, we got to get through a tough month or so. It's just, while we're changing that over. And then, and then this, I don't know if this is like, maybe this is another conversation we have in a couple months, but you like my Paul the Painter, you like the name, and it's great. When I first signed up, I was, and this has been on my mind for a while. I think it's hard to scale, maybe. So we may look to change the name or anything. Or what do you think?
No, don't worry about it. The only thing that the principle in business is the more resources, time, energy, money, the more resources I allocate to solving the next problem, the faster I move. You could always rebrand later, but that's so not something to even spend a thought on.
Okay.
At this stage.
Okay.
One thing you just said, I just want to mention before we wrap up, which is a tough month ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Don't create that. It's actually not tough. What I promise you is if you dedicate 2 hours a day or a full day a week to doing marketing activity, pick the best weather day of the week, take your boys out and get it done. It's going to actually be the best month.
Okay.
You'll bring in more business in 1 month than you've ever brought in a month.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have more positive cash flow in a month than you've ever had in a month. And you'll be more optimistic and motivated for next month than you've ever been in a month.
I look forward to it.
Yeah. And for sure circle back. Cause again, with just the situation and all the kids and the opportunity, it matters to me that this happens, so send me a weekly update or something, on making that one change.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Everybody's been awesome, and I look forward to it. I can't always make the webinars exactly when they happen but I go back and listen to them, on my time and stuff. So I try to, but I'm Eastern time, so they kind of fall in just sort of weird points of the day for me, either 2 p.m. or 4 p.m. So, but yeah, everything's I'm excited, man. It's so I appreciate the opportunity and. It'd be great to check in with you from time to time and, talk about my next problem.
Yeah, great, man. Well, thanks for sharing your story and asking all the questions. I know this will relate with a ton of people. Starting next week, man. Starting next
Yeah,
week. Like, how much time am I dedicating? Follow the course. The leads will come, the estimates will come, then the sales will come, and it will start to shift everything faster than you think.
I believe it. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This was awesome.
All right, man. Thanks, Paul. Hey guys, thanks for listening to the show. I hope you found it valuable. We make these episodes in the show for you, truly. So your feedback is super valuable to us, whether it's, things you liked, things you didn't like, what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of. Any feedback you can give us is going to be super helpful as we continue to evolve and improve the show over time. And if you want a copy of the Fast Growth Roadmap for Painting Contractors, which really simplifies the steps you take to building a business, we've got that resource for free for you. Just check the description or the bio where you're watching or listening to this episode, and you can just click and download that for free, and it should help give you a good roadmap for how to build and scale your business like the people that you're listening to on the show. So thanks for listening in. We'll see you soon.